Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to mismapasion, YouTube's premium channel about all things women's football. And currently, in its current state or version, the Ballon d'Or ceremony and award as it stands is nothing more than a useless trinket in women's football. And as sensationalist and controversial as that may sound, I think it's the bare bones truth here, especially from my point of view in general. And I think so because there's so many things that are so wrong with this current iteration of the Ballon d'Or, at least again in women's football. In the men's side of things, it's perfectly fine as it is, keep it like that. But for women's football as it stands and how far it's come, especially in the last few years or even months, if you want to take it that far, there is a lot of work that needs to be done in order to improve the quality of the event and the meaning of the award, and a lot of work just needs to go in by the organizers, France Football, because currently as it is, it leaves a lot to be desired, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. So we'll start off with something as simple as scheduling. Now, for those of you that might not be aware of it, currently the women's game is going through an international break. That means that players are not playing domestic football but are currently out representing their respective nations for qualification matches like the Women's Nations League and Olympic qualifiers. That means they're fighting for the right to play at the 2024 Olympics. So the scheduling is already an immediate issue here because the Ballon d'Or ceremony that happened this past Monday at the time of recording, it pretty much took place a day before some of these players were scheduled to take part in these major games. It's not like these are just friendly games between nations where players can afford to just miss out and just go for this ceremony. It's not. I've already mentioned the jeopardy involved in these matches, given that they're qualifiers, and for a player to just say, I'm not going to go, it's just a friendly, that's also giving an element of disrespect to their national team, which is not a good thing in general, of course, unless you're Jamaica, because they deserve a lot better than they currently are receiving. But that's besides the point here. The scheduling is already off as it is. I don't know why France Football decided to maintain the same scheduling when they've had the same issue for the last four iterations of the Ballon d'Or in 2019, 2021, and of course last year in 2022. There was no ceremony in 2020 due to the pandemic, so obviously that was not an issue to begin with. But otherwise, France Football, they've had enough time to try and organize a way to accommodate both the men's and the women's ceremony rather than just combine them into one. Because on the flip side of things, the men's side of the Ballon d'Or, they currently have no matches that are taking place the day after these awards. The worst possible thing going on that I can think of is in England, where the Carabao Cup is in action, particularly today, the time of recording, which is on Wednesday, where the likes of Arsenal take on West Ham. And for players involved in the Ballon d'Or ceremony, you just got Bukayo Saka. And just for example, when you look at a player like Saka and a competition like the Carabao Cup, those two things don't go hand in hand, because if we're being very honest with each other here, the Carabao Cup, it's a meaningless trophy. It's a trinket in the English football system as far as I'm concerned, because no one ever watches it. There's no concern of jeopardy around it. So realistically, for the male players, it's just another off day for them. They can afford to go on Monday, stay in Paris on Tuesday, then go back to their respective clubs on Wednesday at the latest. I know that's being a bit too kind depending on the schedules there, but that's besides the point. It just shows you the level of difference between the scheduling in the men's game and the women's game. So just starting things off, you can already see there's a massive issue that already needs to be addressed here. Now, to couple the scheduling issue, you now have the lack of player presence at the Ballon d'Or ceremonies. When I was watching the award show itself, I could only just really see the majority of Barcelona players who were there for obvious reasons, because the majority of them were part of the Spanish women's teams. I guess they were there to represent the nation and particularly the club. And some players I just didn't see, whether it's because we weren't shown the players on camera or they elected to stay on international duty. The likes of Sam Kerr I didn't see, Beth Mead I didn't see, and so many other names. You know, you could play bingo and you realize that there's so many players who are missing from this event, and that just goes to show you again the issues that are already stemming from the current version of the Ballon d'Or that we're seeing, and how it's affecting the women's side. Um, Fair play to the players who were able to make it out there. Apart from the Spanish team players, the other likes of Amanda Illestedt also made an appearance. So I won't say congratulations, but good on them for being able to find the time to not only show up at the awards, but then hopefully to have had enough rest and recovery to perform for their nations the following day, because it can be hectic, especially when you consider all the travel involved and etc, all such things like that. So already the problems just beginning to pile up. And the next issue that I found with the Ballon d'Or ceremony as it stands is the lack of awards. Right now, the only thing that the women are there for at the moment is just the Golden Ball itself, the Ballon d'Or. That's all they're showing up for. Nothing else. Maybe they're also there to just rub shoulders with some celebrities, get some selfies, like, oh, cool, nice to meet you, and whatnot. Maybe it's a social event for some of these players, but other than that, from a pure standpoint as to why they're only there for the Ballon d'Or. Now, you can contrast that with the men's award, where apart from the Ballon d'Or, you've got the Yassine Trophy for the best goalkeeper, you've got the Copa Trophy for the best scoring player, again, the striker with the highest goals, and you've got the best under 21 trophy. That's already three extra trophies on top of the Ballon d'Or. And again, France football, they've had more than enough time to organize respective awards for the women's side. These awards were introduced in 2021 post-pandemic. Of course, we all know that the initial recipient of the COVID trophy was Robert Lewandowski, as some sort of like a make good for his 2020 Ballon d'Or that he should have won, but that's besides the point. They've had since 2021, 2022, pretty much 2 years to come up with the respective opposite awards for the women's side, but still nothing. And that's a shame, because considering the amount of money that these guys, I'm sure they make from just the ceremony alone, it will not cost them an arm and a leg to just come up with the respective trophies for the women's side here. I mean, the likes of Mary Earps would be ideal and leading candidates to win the female version of the Yassine Trophy. The under 21 trophy, you've got the likes of Linda Caicedos, Salma Parajuela, Sophia Smith, etc., who can do that. And of course, the highest goal scorer, you got Sam Kerr, who's just an easy contender right there, you know. So it doesn't take much for these players to be recognized with the necessary and respective awards, but of course, France football just think that putting the women's Ballon d'Or there on display is more than enough, and it's not. You need to show the same level of parity and respect to women's football that you do men's football. If for some reason these awards weren't there on the men's side, there would be a huge uproar, and they would pretty much jump to make sure that this uproar is quelled and they introduce these awards. I mean, that's literally what was done with the Yassine Trophy. After a while of goalkeepers and fans complaining that goalies will never win the Ballon d'Or because they're goalies, boom, Yassine Trophy, just like that. So there's a lot that needs to go into the planning, and again, it leaves a lot to be desired. Simple things with simple solutions that just aren't being done for God knows why, and it's upsetting and it's frustrating, to be honest with you. And just to follow on with the whole situation with the awards, on the men's side, we had Lionel Messi winning his 8th Ballon d'Or, which he was presented to by Didier Drogba and David Beckham, bona fide legends of the men's game. And for the women's side, instead of getting a legend of the game or a player with recognizable value in women's football, like, I don't know, Megan Rapinoe, just off the top of my head, considering that she's retiring, Carly Lloyd, etc. No, we get Novak Djokovic, a tennis player, a male tennis player, and like, not to slight him or anything for being a guy, that really doesn't matter in my opinion. The crux of the issue is that not only are you getting someone who is outside of the footballing community just on the basis of being an athlete or just an insider in general. You're also getting someone who is pretty much persona non grata with the women's community based on his comments about equal pay. And we all know that equal pay has been a serious issue of contention in women's football. I myself have thrown in my opinion there, saying like equal pay should be a thing that is there, but of course relative to performances. But on a national level, it should definitely sway in the favor of women, because the majority of women's teams across the world are doing way better than the men's teams. Take for example the United States of America. There's no reason for the USA to not have equal pay, if not better pay, for their women's athletes, considering that they perform far above and beyond than the men's athletes. But that's besides the point. If I can find the video, I'll link it in the description, and you can just hear my full thoughts on it in detail. But apart from that, you had Novak Djokovic presenting the Ballon d'Or award to Aitana Bonmati, and I already touched on why it's such a bad idea and why it just didn't look good or feel good just in general. Like, it just shows you the level of respect and attention that is being paid to the Women's Ballon d'Or as it is by the organizers. It doesn't take anything, or again, it doesn't take any excessive effort to get in touch with a former player or a current player with recognizable value in the women's game. Doesn't even have to be a player, it can be a coach or someone of note in the women's game to present this award. It takes you nothing, but they chose Djokovic for some reason, and Lord only knows why. We'd have to ask the organizers what they were thinking, but that just goes to show you the level of respect, care, and attention that they currently show to the Women's Ballon d'Or. And another reason why it didn't really work out, the Ballon d'Or ceremony for the women, is just, this is a little bit of a reach, but if you watch the performance by Rima, the guy who sang Calm Down, especially the remix with Selena Gomez, you could see that like it just looks so awkward with the women there. The women were placed in like a small corner of the theater. I don't know if that was by design or that's just how the seatings are arranged, but the women were there. Rima, he basically aired them. He didn't pay any attention to them, he didn't interact with them. And I think like as an entertainer, your job is to entertain the masses and not be selective with who you want to entertain, because to contrast that, he was more than happy to just go up close and personal with the likes of Messi and just dap him up and just, you know, say, oh hi, nice to meet you type of thing. And it's really poor from my own perspective, because again, as an entertainer, your job is to entertain everyone who's available, make everybody get up, have fun, and feel like they're involved, not to just be selective with who you want to interact with, because I think that just leaves a bad taste in the mouth. If you're watching it, it feels a little bit cringe when you're watching it. If you're one of the female athletes, you just think, why are you doing this? You know, there's always the possibility where you just say, is this something I did? Is this the way I'm looking at him? You know, it doesn't make you feel nice at all. So that's just yet another bone of contention with the situation concerning the Ballon d'Or at the moment. And like, just looking at all these things all wrapped up in one, these are just some of the issues. I'm sure there are 10,000 other things that other people picked up. Even you watching this video, I'm sure there are other things that I didn't mention that you picked up. Of course, leave those things in just your own sentiments, the comments below. But going forward, currently as it stands, the Ballon d'Or means nothing in women's football. You know, it's supposed to be something to present a level of parity with the men's side, but it's not doing that. Maybe on the level of saying, oh, the women also have one, but like, that's it. You're not showing any level of care, any level of attention, respect, or importance to the award, and it just feels like an afterthought, you know. Whereas people are busy making a noise about, oh, Messi won it and whatnot. The only time, at least that I've seen on social media, where people are mentioning Bonmati winning is either if it's a page that is solely focused on women's football, or if it's just something like clickbaity from the likes of like BR Football, and they're like, oh, look at this, Bonmati, Messi made in Barcelona, now winning it both and whatnot. You know, it doesn't really sit well, and that's not me coming at BR Football, because they did make a dedicated post to Bonmati, but it just goes to show you like how much like other pages are picking it up. They're not really showing enough of an effort to highlight the importance of Bonmati winning and the importance of the women's Ballon d'Or in general, and it's a shame. So as a result of that, I really don't think that the women's Ballon d'Or means anything in women's football. It's not being made to feel important. We as fans were more than happy to congratulate and to wax lyrical about Bonmati and her achievements and the reasons why she's won, and they're all very valid, but there's only so much noise we can make as a few when you have these mainstream outlets barely talking about it, or if they do talk about it, it's just like as a corner piece of the entire story, or a corner piece of the back page, which is just going to be slathered with Messi's image all around, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. And with the way it currently is in its current iteration or version, you might as well just not have a women's Ballon d'Or if you're France football, because you're not giving it the appropriate level of respect or attention that it deserves. At this rate, someone else should make their own dedicated women's football awards, and maybe that'll be something that's taken care of with more respect and credibility like it deserves. Because just to say it's the women's Ballon d'Or, that's not credible enough. You need to make it feel credible. You need to show that it's credible. And I think with the way France football have currently done it, I personally don't get that. Maybe it's just me. If it's just me, I'll hold my hands up and say maybe I'm just being a Karen about it, but who knows? Those are just my opinions on it. I'd like to hear your opinions on it. Should there be like an entirely different version of the Ballon d'Or for the women's teams or footballers if they're not being respected by France football? France football themselves, I don't think it'll kill them if they just say we'll hold the men's Ballon d'Or on this week and the next week, or the best possible time we'll hold on for the women. I think that's a fair thing to do, because unfortunately the schedules in men's football and women's football, they just don't align. So it's pretty much impossible to have them all be in one building in one go. It's impossible. I'm sure they would want that for the sake of cost saving and whatnot, but it's just not possible. It's not a realistic thing to look forward to. But those are just my opinions on it. I'll, of course, as always, love to hear your thoughts on it and what your sentiments are on this entire situation. And before I wrap up this video, just once more with so much panache and emphasis, huge and massive congratulations to Aitana Bonmati for winning the 2023 Women's Ballon d'Or. I know in spite of the things that I've said in this video surrounding the award and the ceremony itself, it cannot take away from her massive achievement in winning this award. Of course, she has been the best of the best when it comes to just players in this last calendar year. Yes, she may not have the necessary goals and assists to show for it, but when you see her play, she just makes everything click. She is a phenom in midfield. She's a maestro in every sense of the word. She has just been amazing, and her individual accolades like this Ballon d'Or, like winning the UEFA MVP, like winning the Golden Ball at the Women's World Cup, it just goes to show you the level of pedigree and the type of player that she is. And even if you just look at the collective awards she's won, she pretty much swept the entire lot when it comes to the past season. She won the World Cup, she won her domestic league with Barcelona, she won the Supercopa with Barcelona, and she won the Women's Champions League, of course, with Barcelona. So well deserved by Aitana Bonmati. Hopefully we can get more of the same, not even better, from her in the coming year. She's only 25 years old, and she has just surely just begun to show what she's made of, and just more of the same, if not the best, and even more from her. And of course, may we just hope that she continues to just be here in the game for a long time. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.